Hello again, I'm back with the whiteboard today to talk about 2010 Select Prestige, and I've mentioned this release probably about 20 times in my last 5 videos or so, but yeah, this is what I think is the most important modern AFL release, and yeah, the one with the most growth potential. So pretty much just gonna go through why I think that is, and there's 4 main things I want to talk about in the video, and the first one is the cards. Try and get this to sit up nicely, but number 1 is the cards. Number 2 is something I'm going to call the Breakers Premium. There's a few things that go into that, but yeah, I'm just going to call it the Breakers Premium for now. A few of you might have an idea of what that means. Number 3, I'm going to say grading potential. And this I've kind of taken from other hobbies and other card games. Pretty much when you've got sealed product, obviously the cards that are within that are going to be in mint condition. So yeah, it opens up this possibility, even though that AFL grading isn't really big at the moment. And number 4, I'm going to say market appetite, or the future of AFL collecting. So those are the 4 things I'm pretty much going to be going through. I probably didn't need to write them out, but I'm just going to get rid of them right now. The first one I'm going to talk about is the cards, and this is actually pretty simple. You can probably keep the numbers there because the cards themselves, I mean, there's not much to talk about with the cards, because obviously number 1, you've got the most important footy card right now, and that's the DPS, Dusty DPS. And then the next one is the DPP, the Draft Pick Platinum. That's Dusty's as well. Yeah, a very important card. Personally, I prefer it over the Draft Pick Signature, but it's very obvious that the market has decided that the Draft Pick Signature is his rookie card, like the rookie card to have. So I'm not going to argue with that. That's obviously the number 1 card. The number 3 is the DPP, but that's a Fife's Draft Pick Platinum. I've said in the previous video, this is my favourite, or the one I think has the most growth potential in the future, and I still stand by that. But once again, I'm not going to ignore that the market's decided that this Dusty DPS is about $1,000 card at the moment. So you've got the Fife, and then you've got the Gary Ablett Signature. I think it's, not sure if it's like a medal winner signature, or I'm not sure exactly, but I think it's numbered out of 100, and it's his second Sig ever in the AFL, so it holds a lot of significance, I think. So yeah, it's another thing. That's the other card. And then other than that, I mean, I'm going to put number 5 here. I'll get to this later, but a bit of a question mark, because yeah, I don't really want to talk about it now. It becomes more relevant later, but these are the 4 cards you're chasing, really. And this one, there's 17, so you got a 1, and there's 1 per box, and there's 17 different ones, so you got 1 in 17 chance. This one, it's a bit more complicated because they actually do like a 1 to 5 draft pick in this series, and then a 6 to 10, and then 11 to 28 or 30 or whatever it is. So the odds of that are a bit more complicated, but I'm pretty sure you get 1 every 2 boxes of this. But yeah, I can talk about the expected value in this next section. So these are the cards pretty much you need to know, and you should know in this set. The rest, there's quite a few other cards which people would want, but yeah, they're not really worth talking about because they don't have huge growth potential in my mind. There's actually a few players who get completely overlooked, their draft picked cards in this release. I think Gary Rowan, like he's really putting together quite a good career at Geelong, and he was really reasonably good at Sydney as well when he wasn't injured. And Mitch Duncan as well. He's been a great Geelong player for a while now, so it's yeah, it's a bit strange that their cards are still extremely cheap. So the next on the list is the Breakers Premium, and the easiest way I can think of explaining this is with a bit of a graph, and it's just a pretty simple one. On one side you've got money, and on one side you've got time. And the big thing to remember for this one is that it's a non-reprintable series, I think, because the main value comes from draft pick cards, and the Ablett signature, which you can't reprint. He's not playing anymore, obviously, and this was his second sig, so it's just like a non-reprintable set. So this graph is going to be like non-reprintable, non-reprint. And what I'm pretty much going to go through is how the expected value of the cards change and how the box changes and why they might not line up exactly. So our release date, I think this was about $180 a box. And back when it released in 2010, like the resale kind of game or market conditions weren't really around. So I'm going to guess that the expected value was about $180 because it makes sense. On release day, you can't really release something with a horrible expected value because no one will buy it, and you're not supposed to release it with too high because then it's just going to be resold and you're losing value as like a producer of cards because you're losing like reprintable value. You're giving money to the collectors, which it's good for us and it's good for the people who collect, but it's not really a sustainable way of doing business in the long run. So you got the release date, this is the box price and the expected value of 180. And yeah, because it's such a release dominated by draft pick cards, it's very dependent, well, the expected value is very dependent on how people's career goes. So this is 2010. In 2015, I reckon this would have fallen. I reckon this would have fallen mostly because the majority of the players, especially the high draft picks, actually didn't really do anything. Tom Scully, for example, most of them, if you take out Dusty and Ben Cunnington as well, was a high draft pick who has forged like a really good career, but he's not collectible really unless you're a North fan. So yeah, there's not a huge amount of people left. So by 2015, I reckon this expected value would have dropped to about $150. So, and then 2017, 19, and 21. Richmond just goes gangbusters, Dusty Mania in effect. I think it would have steadily risen, maybe in 17 back to 170, 19, 200, and 21, 220. I've actually done the calculations very roughly for the expected value at the moment, and I'd say it's about 220 at the moment, maybe 230, but it's rapidly growing because as soon as that Dusty DPS goes higher and higher, it just brings the expected value up hugely because per case you're almost guaranteed, I don't want to say guaranteed, but you're almost guaranteed to get one of his cards. So it really just pushed up that expected value. But even now, even when this release is becoming super sought after, the cards within it, the expected value is only, let's say, 220. But the box price, if you were buy on the open market, is 280. So there's still a gap. So this is the box price, and this is the expected value. And you might say, well, it's just stupid to buy the box if the expected value of the cards is 220, because you're just straight up losing $60 on average every time you open a box. But this is what we're calling the breakers premium. And as soon as, like, the big thing is time, because it's 11 years old, this release now, so the actual sealed product, like the boxes, gain collectability over this time. So even though the expected value goes up and down and back up, the actual box price would look something more like this. Or probably more accurately, like this. Because the last few years obviously been a big price shift. But yeah, so the box is a lot more stable than the cards within the box because it holds collectability. It's like getting like a sealed Game Boy or something that if you just had the Game Boy inside, that it'd be worth 10 times less. But because it's sealed and it's fresh and there's not many on the market, it increases the prices. And you see this so much more in like Pokemon or Magic the Gathering, where the box is sometimes 5 times the expected value of the cards within. It's just like a nostalgic thing that people want to open old product. And this is only going to get higher, I think. So this Breakers Premium, you could express it as like a multiplier of some sort. So Like I said, in other games, it might be 5 times. In this one, what 220, 280. It's like a 1 1/4 times multiplier roughly. Like, I think that's going to get higher. I really do. And that means every time the expected value goes up by, say, $10, then the expected value, the price of the box will go up by $12.50. And I think it's going to get higher to the point where it might be like 2 times every time it goes up $10 the expected value, then the price of the box will go up 20. So an important thing to remember is this is about non-reprintable boxes. So for example, Footy Stars Prestige, I did a previous video, it started at 140, that was retail. The expected value is 300. So it's way up here. There's just a huge gap. This is like a reverse breakers premium, I guess, because if you bought for retail and you're not guaranteed obviously, but the average return would be about 2 times. So once the prices go down, which they will, especially once the new releases come out, and 2022 Footy Stars Prestige, that will really crash. So the box prices go from about 300 or whatever they are now, 250, and they go down, and they might sit around retail. But even with these reprintable sets, it gets to a point where they're collectible again. Like having a sealed box of 2021 Footy Stars Prestige in, say, 2030, people will remember the time, especially because it's like a big growth period for the hobby. People will remember this and say, oh, that's just so fun to crack. Like it's just like a trip down memory lane. So I'd expect, even though it's a strong release, number one, but even though it's going to be reprinted to death, it's going to get to a point, if you change this from 2021 to 2030, it's going to get to a point where this price stabilizes and actually starts growing slightly in the same fashion that this does. It's just going to be delayed. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. Obviously, everyone can think what they want, but that's kind of what I think. And yeah, it's I just don't think it's stupid buying a box for a higher price than the cards within, because it has organic collectability outside of the cards within the release. So that's the Breakers Premium. It's not really a thing that's huge in the AFL hobby. I do see the Hall of Fame boxes going for big money, and even like early footy releases, say like 1993, the first release, the cards within that release don't really matter, that they're mass produced. It's just not bang for your buck, but just for the trip down memory lane, worth every cent. And now we get to number 3, and that is grading potential. I said in my previous, oh my god, my writing's horrible on this whiteboard, but I said in the previous video that the cards with grading potential are ones with low value but high organic collectability or high like significance, and this is the same in this release. Like I wouldn't be grading a dusty DPS if I pulled that. Like that just has so much value in and by itself that putting it in a holder, like a grading holder, would actually decrease its value at the moment in the AFL hobby. But the things that I would look at grading is his base and his die cut parallel. So this is another thing that's really going to push up the price or the expected value of the cards within, because I'm not sure if you get a base set every box, if they were doing that in 2010, but say you do, that's 16 dusty bases. They're selling on eBay just raw for like $25, $30. I know that lots of these people probably don't know what they're buying. Maybe they think they're getting his actual rookie card when they're just getting the base, but I think those prices will hold up because Dusty's price of his actual rookie cards are so high that it's going to bring up everything underneath it. And I think even his base rookie card from his rookie year holds more significance to me than say like a random insert from 2021. So if you get 16 of these, and I think the odds are like 1 in 5 1 in 5 to get a dusty die cut. So say you get 3 of these each case. I think if you graded, so say the grading fees are $15 per card, let's just say 20, so what's that, 300, so it's 300 extra dollars. I reckon you could easily get $50 to $60 right now. And I might even do a bit of an experiment. I might just buy some off eBay and grade them and see if I can flip them. But this happens in other hobbies, like in basketball. The Luka Doncic base rookie goes for like a grand American. So if that can do that, this can do that to a much lesser extent. But yeah, those low value, high significance cards are really right for grading in my mind. So I reckon you can get 50 to 60 for this, and probably 50 to 60 for this. What's that? 800. That's like a grand. That's like a grand just from the low end cards in the release, minus 300 for the grading fees, and you've got $700. So that really brings it up straight away, and it's just kind of an extra kick if you don't get one of the real high end cards. But yeah, and the grading potential isn't just for the low end cards, although these are the only ones I'd grade. Having a card in perfect condition is good no matter what. So even if you're not going to grade it, having a perfect condition dusty draft pick signature is something you want, and something that's going to get a premium on the market. So that's number 3. Number 4, what do I have for number 4? Market, the future of the market. I'm not probably going to write anything for this, but the future of the market is that boxes are now going for 200, 300, supremacy boxes are going for like $2,000 or whatever, dominance going for 500. People's tolerance is really rising. Like, they're willing to spend $500, $1,000 on a box, and this is only going to get bigger because Select are going to start putting out rarer cards. I wouldn't be surprised this year or next year if we saw 1 of 5s, like 1 of 1 cards. That would be huge if they released a dusty 1 of 1. Imagine the prices that those boxes would fetch if you had the chance of getting a dusty 1 of 1. So as the market appetite for high-end expensive boxes grows, it's just going to pull up all these important releases. So although you might say, oh, $280 for this, that's a lot of money, I wouldn't want to risk that. If it's between this and $1,000 box of high-end 2021 or 2022 cards, it's really going to incentivize you to go back and look at these other important releases that might give you just as good cards or just as sought after cards. So those are my 4 points about 2010 Select Prestige. I probably have a few more thoughts, but yeah, that's the best I can do. Hopefully this video isn't too long. I'm sure it is way too long, and if you made it this far, then thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.